Welcome to Northern Lights. I'm Dwain.
I'm Mark, and today we'll be talking about our UFC 272 recap. So what I'll do, Dwayne, is I'll go from the bottom of the main card, and we'll work his way up to the main event.
Yeah, I'm not
So,
bothered about the prelims.
no, well, we'll be there all fucking night,
Yeah.
you know. So there was Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy, and Greg obviously got knocked out in the first round again. What did you think of this? Did you catch it?
Yeah. I watched the whole card. Yeah, I mean, this whole Greg Hardy experiment, I know he's a big football person, but I've never heard of him. I'm not into American football, so I know he's a bit of a celeb and that. But I just feel like he's just not a good fighter, is he? Like he's just not at that level. He seems like he's putting the effort in and really training hard, but he's just, I think to be a proper fighter, you've got to train for years and years and years. And he's just getting knocked out constantly. He's
Well,
just getting beaten up.
well, he's still, after Ty battered him last year, he's still talking about essentially almost that he could win and all this kind of stuff. And someone made a comment online, which I think were true. They'd said, when back in the Tank Abbott days of the UFC, if Greg Hardy was around then, he might have been a monster.
Yeah,
But
he'd be great
the,
then.
the sports
The
evolved
game's
so
moved on
much,
too much, yeah.
especially heavyweights. You look who's in the top of the heavyweight division. It's not just stand and bang. That's it completely.
Well, look at the
So,
last title fight for the heavyweights. I mean, come on, like that was more technical than it was stand and bang. Do you know what I mean? Especially from Ngannou. It's like that's
yeah.
what it is. You can't do that anymore in that division.
But yeah, you just feel like it's that element's missing from him. But but Sergey, he's chalked out to Ivasa as well. So see what
Yeah,
happens with him maybe in the future.
yeah,
There was Kevin Holland made a comeback victory against Alex Oliveira, Cowboy Oliveira.
yeah,
You catch that in the second round, early in the second round.
yeah. Well, what shocked me was I didn't even realize that he'd gone down a weight class. It felt like with this
Yeah,
card, UFC were really promoting it. I'm like, that's a big deal. He's dropping down a whole weight class. Like make something out of that.
yeah,
And
I get that, but I think with them, Kevin Holland's still a sort of household name, but he didn't have a great year last year.
no.
Towards the end, I know you could say that about Kevin Holland about his last few, however many fights, because he's the most active person. But like this is him. I was glad that he won because I enjoy watching him fight. So
Yeah,
I'm
he
glad that
needed a
he
win. Yeah,
beat Alex. And now I'm not saying he was never relevant, but you know what I mean. You can bring him into a conversation when you're talking about welterweights.
yeah, 100%. And I genuinely thought it was one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. When he's getting choked out and he
Well,
just gives a thumbs up. I was like, that is so cool.
yeah. Well, that's him though, isn't it? Actually enjoy. Some people
Yeah,
hate it.
it's
I
fun
enjoy
still.
watching Kevin Allen talk shite to the people in the ring. I enjoy it when Sean Strickland does it.
Yeah.
I find it somewhat entertaining because I used to think Kevin were doing it to be this big character. That's why they called him Big
It's
Mouth,
just who
wasn't
he
it?
is, isn't it?
But I mean, because he can back it up and everything. But
The
glad to
thing
see
is,
Kevin got a win.
yeah,
Kevin's back in the win column, and see what happens because he called out Cowboy Cerrone, who I think's got another fight. But that's another.
I want Cowboy Oliveira and Cowboy Cerrone to fight. That's what I want. I don't want.
Yeah. That'd be nice. But I think Joe Lawson's fighting Cerrone, isn't he?
Yeah.
But the moving on into the featherweights, there was Edson Barbosa versus Bryce Mitchell. Glad to see Bryce back after he missed
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah, I think Bryce Mitchell again, he's just such an interesting character, isn't he? Do you see when he was like drinking coffee? Do you see how he drinks coffee?
We're speaking about how he drinks coffee. No, I thought
He's
you were going to say
mental.
something
He's
about in
mental.
in the cage.
Oh yeah, his fight was brilliant. But he takes a spoonful of coffee, chews it, and then drinks water.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's
He's
fucking mental. He's crazy, but I think he's great. It was a really interesting fight actually. It was just pure domination by Bryce. I mean, even
yeah.
in the stand up, he dropped Barboza in the first round, and then he just laid on top of him. But Barboza did get a good hit and drop him in the third, was it, or the second? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I mean, it was dominating overall for a decision, but it wasn't quite like the main event. But
No.
we'll get there later on. But I like. Well, to be honest, I like both of them. I think Barbosa's maybe I won't say past it, but He's in the second half of his career, and Bryce,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
really like him. Bryce is almost like a character from The Simpsons, where you pull all these stereotypes and you just chuck them in together, and okay, we've created a redneck. That's
Do
it.
you mean he was turning down interviews this week? Like, so he's turned down interviews because he's busy doing farm shit. That's literally what he said.
Oh yeah, that's it. He's literally like a WWE character when they used to,
Yeah.
like, we're gonna get this guy as a redneck. He's gonna come out with fucking Confederate flag or something like that. I'm just missing that.
He's even got camo shorts, doesn't he? I didn't realize that Venom did those kind of shorts now.
Well, that was a special for him, I
Oh,
believe. It was, but he was happy for that. But yeah, Bryce is an interesting one, and I don't know the ins and outs of why he wasn't active last year, but I'd like to see him become a little more active, see
yeah,
what
be
he can
good.
do, and maybe by the end of the year or early next year, it could be the talk of him going for the belt. You never know. We'll see if he's still on the
Genuinely, if
top.
you beat Barboza, you know, he's an elite striker. He's really got a good shot, you know? We'll see
Yeah,
what he does next.
I wouldn't say Barbosa's a gatekeeper yet. He's not
No,
there
no,
yet,
but he's
but
really he's a
he's
good
still.
settle into the division, isn't he? You know, like
Yeah.
right, you know.
Moving on to the co-main event, RDA versus now Dwayne. You're gonna have to guide me here.
Mochino?
Renato. We'll go with that.
Machino. Let's call him Machino.
Let's go there. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so Machino came out what? Was it a week's notice?
I think in 5 days, something like that.
That's something crazy. Because originally it was going to be Islam Makhachev, wasn't it? That's
No,
well, no. Islam Makhachev was going to be the original replacement. It was Raphael. What's his name? The guy who called out Hasbullah.
yes, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a really good fight. Actually, really interesting. I felt like Machinio. Is that his name? I don't know if that's his name.
Well, let's go with that.
It should have been called in the third round. He should have. Right, that's it. You're out. You know, it should have stopped the fight. He was just getting absolutely lit up. You know, he just had nothing for him. You know.
Well, I've seen, fair play for him for stepping in. Personally, I think that was a real, the ball was dropped and the Islam Makhachev thing, because that could have propelled Islam into the fans' hearts to say, well, he did step up, because at the minute he's not exactly, he might be well liked in the grand scheme of things, but any average fan,
He's not a fan favorite, is he?
No, that's what I mean. It could have been much more brought into light. So I thought they'd drop the ball there, or whoever had dropped the ball. But yeah, I've seen something else online as well that said we should normalise throwing the towel in.
Yeah, 100%, definitely.
Because if people are just taking unnecessary damage, it's, we've seen it many a time, haven't we, where they just get battered and there's just unnecessary damage, too many risks, long-term effect as well. It's just not right.
No, it's not safe, is it? And I mean, they've brought the Doctor in twice into the octagon. For me, it should have ended. But in that sort of latter round, like what, the last minute, he did, you know, he was banging Raphael quite a bit, and you think, oh, maybe he could get a cheeky knockout, you know. But I don't know. I think Sanyos is just too seasoned for that, isn't he? You know, he's not.
Everyone's got a chance of like a flash knockout, but you do get the people. This is probably for another video, Dwayne. But when people say, "Well, no, they could," we shouldn't be normalizing throwing the towel in because they've still got a chance. It isn't I know that everyone's got a chance, but it isn't a fucking Rocky movie. You know, like where it's just a comeback kid sort of thing after being dominated. I'm like, sometimes you can just see it going one way. Now, I'd rather be a bit miffed, not even upset. I'd rather be a little bit miffed that there was a slightly early stoppage rather than a fighter with a brain tumor or something.
Oh, 100%. It's like what I heard Chael say, I think it was this week. He said, a fight should be stopped when a fighter doesn't have a chance of winning anymore. And he didn't have a chance of winning, did he? He was already 3 rounds down. He was gone. It just wasn't going to happen. So end the fight. There's no need to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, long-term effects, because careers are short enough as it is anyway. So, but I mean, maybe that's for another video.
Yeah.
Wayne, on to the main event, Colby and Jorge. So, again, our predictions, we spoke around it, but like I say, I kept swapping and changing my mind. So, but the safe bet was Colby by decision, and that's exactly what happened.
And I forgot to put a bet on like an idiot. I was going to put $5 on Colby to win by decision. I think I'd have won like 50p or something. The odds were too low anyway.
Yeah, Mr. Big Spender. Yeah.
Hey, 50p is 50p. I can get a mix up for that. I bet you can't.
Inflation's a bastard.
But yeah, I think a lot of people knew that's what was going to happen in the fight, didn't you? know? Colby essentially dominated 5 rounds. Got him up to the fence, put pressure on him, and just dragged him down. And we knew that was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, it was. That's what we just said. This what the safe bet would be, but I didn't expect Masvidal to have nothing for him. Except for
Yeah,
that one shot. This reminds me of Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards. You talk to people about that fight, they only remember Nate rocking him for what were it, 8 seconds or something. Like, what about the remaining 24 minutes and 52 seconds of
yeah,
that fight? Like it was just a complete domination. I didn't expect Masvidal to have that little for him.
yeah.
But did we say last week though? Obviously, he won't be scared. It's his bloody job, isn't it? But and I'm not saying, we knew straight away, but we looked and we said, it looks like he's almost unprepared a little bit, like a little too relaxed almost, like he didn't really phased.
Yeah, I think he kind of came into it kind of knowing that he probably wasn't going to win. Like, not that he wanted to lose or anything, but I think they've trained so long together. Don't you, if someone's better than you at the gym? Like, if someone's stronger and faster and a better fighter in general,
Mm.
you're going to know that. So it did sort of feel like he just sort of came in and just thought, oh, well, it's going to happen.
Mm.
But like even in the stand up, he didn't have much to offer, and I felt like Colby was dominating in the stand up. More significant strikes anyway. Fine, Masvidal got 2 good hits in. But Colby popped right back up. He got hit and just came straight back up.
He
But that's
did.
the
I
scary.
mean, I don't think Colby gets credited enough for his chin because people would argue, yeah, but Usman knocked him out. And you go, well, yeah, I'm not
Wasn't a
saying I
knockout, was
disagree
it?
with the
It was a,
stoppage, but he got up, protested, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was the right stoppage.
and that
Right.
he had a broken jaw as well in that
Yeah.
fight.
So I literally just getting ragged around and all that. And Colby looks like he's ready to go. I know he's not normal, really. He's got a third lung.
Yeah.
But, Masvidal, he just looked tired and beat. But I must admit, I prefer Colby because I like a good heel. And
Yeah, I
what
like
I
a
mean?
yeah.
Once it's all that, if that was all genuine and that, you'd think it was a prick. But I'm glad that he done it. But I did feel sorry for Masvidal in the post fights and stuff because you could tell he was just so defeated.
I did find it weird when Masvidal when they were in the octagon and he's giving him shit after. So he's just battered you. Like, why are you still talking? But saying that, I say that when Conor did it with Dustin and his leg broke, I was like, yeah, it's fucking ace. Do you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
such
no,
a
but
hypocrite.
you're a little kind of nut hugger though.
Yeah, I
So
definitely am. Yeah.
but yeah, it like I watched the post fight press conference as well, and to be fair, you get what Dustin's doing because he's still creating the buzz around it, sort of thing. But
Yeah,
Masvidal, I felt sorry for him as he just came out and he said, he's a bitch, but the bitch can wrestle.
yeah.
It's true, but it's
But
because he's
Masvidal was
so
making
defeated, and
really
then
silly
you've got John
mistakes.
Morgan. John Morgan, oh Masvidal, sorry, must be a tough loss and all that kind of stuff. And his face just looks like Elephant Man.
But Masvidal made some really silly mistakes, things you can't be doing with a wrestler. He was on the back foot. He's coming towards the fence. You can't do that. Why would you go anywhere near the fence? If he applied the pressure to Colby, he'd have a much better chance. But I don't know, stupid mistakes, and I think he just doesn't have that. I just don't think he's got that ring IQ. Really, he's a great
No,
fighter, but just not. He's not at that level.
look, yeah, I mean, I never mean any disrespect or anything because I do like Masvidal. I
I
just
love
prefer Colby
Masvidal.
to
Yeah,
win. But it's as if he hasn't sharpened that area of the whole fight. As a brawler, as a stand and bang kind of is great at it. But as that area, when you meet a significantly better wrestler, it really does show, doesn't it? I mean, sadly, how many times have we seen it in the past where you get like a really good fighter going against a cracking grappler and they make him look amateur? It's look at any Khabib fight.
yeah.
You see him on the floor with someone and it makes him look like they've never wrestled before.
And that's our UFC 272 recaps. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. It really helps us out.